Several media aides to Ondo State Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa have resigned, with sources citing poor treatment and operational challenges as the primary reasons for their resignation. The specific reasons reported for these resignations include poor funding and working conditions. Some have cited inadequate funding for their operations and unfavorable working conditions as key factors for stepping down. Some have said marginalization as well. Some reports indicated that media team members felt dissatisfied because key administrative decisions were allegedly being influenced by a small group of power brokers rather than the appointees themselves. Well, they've been talked to about the governor's style, with previous resignation of senior aides, such as those in July 2025, linked to frustrations over a perceived one-man show leadership style and a lack of consultation with party stakeholders regarding appointment. And there have been notable recent resignations, particularly in February, which includes Pastor Taiwo Ilesami Bamila, a senior special assistant to Governor Aiyedatiwa on multimedia, as well as Olugbenga Bire, special assistant on new media. Or some aides, such as Bire, stated that their departure was for personal career progression and had the governor's blessings. The governor's and broader reports as well suggest a looming mass resignation within the media team due to aforementioned grievances. I mean, some of those that we've mentioned before. Well, let's get talking about this. As we say, welcome to Homo Politicals. The focus today is on Ondo State. Recently celebrated milestone of the creation of the state. And indeed, there's been several talks as to how the government, the incumbent government, that's the administration of Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa, has been faring. Well, this particular one is just one of such conversations. Just a few days ago, workers at the Rufus Giwa Polytechnic took to the gates of the school, the streets, to protest minimum wage. They are demanding that the state government pay them, the minimum wage, 70,000 naira. That and a lot more have been, some of those challenges facing the state. There have been talks too about, as you can see on your screen, the budget for 2026 and the allocation for vehicles and things like that, which many stakeholders in the state have said, does not align with the needs of the state. Well, again, welcome to Homo Politicals. We're talking governance, policy, as a matter of fact, politics, because the opposition parties, various opposition parties in the state, that's Ondo State, I've been speaking to about this particular matter. I'm joined today by the chairman of Ondo Redemption Front, your Deji Ologun. He joins me virtually for this conversation. Many thanks for joining me.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
Appreciate your being part of the conversation. Before we get deep into some of those, many details, as a true son of Ondo State, I'd like to say congratulations first, with the celebrations which happened, what's 1 week now back, the celebrations, and congratulations on the milestone.
Thank you very much for congratulating us, and a big congratulations to the citizens and dwellers of Ondo State. It's been 50 years of remarkable progress and achievement, despite lack of good leadership in recent time. But we'll look forward to the next 50 years, and we hope that can only get better. Let's
talk that leadership. There are concerns about how Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa is leading the state. Right. Let's begin first with the protests that we saw with workers demanding minimum wage, the payment of minimum wage in the states. What's happening? What do you know of this situation, and why does the states? Why do we have workers who have not been paid the 70,000 naira minimum wage?
Well, it's funny that you are talking about 70,000 minimum wage, 70,000 naira minimum wage, when we are in excess talking about staffs of our institution in Ondo State who are still receiving the 18,000 minimum wage. Don't forget that after the 18,000 minimum wage, Nigeria has had the 30,000 naira minimum wage before the recent upgrade to 70,000. So we are not just living in the old age in Ondo State, but we are living in an era where the leadership of the state is taking us backwards rather than forward. And it's quite unfortunate that when one talk about the lucky or the insensitivity or the failure of a Lucky Aiyedatiwa as governor of Ondo State, a number of people are quick to see it as an attempt to run down his government. But I tell you, Ondo State is in one of its worst time in history. We are witnessing maladministration. What we are witnessing is retrogression instead of progress in Ondo State. Let me paint the problem in Resign Polytechnic to you. It's beyond what you saw as just protests by the workers of that institution. For the past 3 years, and this is something that is in the limelight that you can confirm. For anyone, I hold a doctorate degree in English language, and I understand what it means to be in the academics. In the last 3 years, for those who understand how an institution is run, for the past 3 years in the history of the Resign Polytechnic, the governing council of that institution has not sat for once. Then you ask me, how has decisions been taken about administration, about project delivery, about promotions, about appointments in such an institution? For the past years, what has been happening in Resign Polytechnic has been a situation whereby someone who is underqualified has been running the administration of that school. A mister is running the administration of that school. And even when he was the deputy, this was someone that was the deputy rector of that institution, he was appointed into acting capacity as the rector of the Polytechnic. And if you understand how a public institution is run in Nigeria, you cannot hold the position of an acting rector, an acting VC, or acting whatever for more than 6 months. I can tell you that the acting rector of the Resign Polytechnic is in the 2nd year as acting rector of that institution. And then you begin to wonder what kind of a government watches decay of an institution in that in such monument. As if that is not enough, virtually all appointments in Resign Polytechnic has been in acting capacity. Acting registrar, acting bursar, acting dean, acting HOD, everything there is acting, because virtually everyone holding those positions are underqualified. The rector of that institution, despite having been in acting capacity for over 2 years, has been paid himself what you call severance fee as deputy rector. He's receiving salary as deputy rector, receiving salary of a full-time rector. As acting rector of an institution, his salary is supposed to be around 600,000 or thereabouts. He is paying himself 1.8 million, which is the salary of a full substantive rector of the institution. And then the governor seems to look away just because the rector of that institution is his kin man. So what you are seeing in Resign Polytechnic is a reflection of what is happening in Adekunle Ajah University, Akungba Akoko. It's a reflection of what is happening at the other institution in Okitiupa, that is the Olusegun Agago University of Technology. That is the decay that we are witnessing in all the state-owned institutions in Ondo State, which is a further reflection of the failure and maladministration of a Lucky Aiyedatiwa.
Well, this is not just the only matter plaguing the state right now, causing division and concern in the state. There's the concern to the provisions of the 2026 budget, particularly allocations to vehicles and the rest. What do you say as regards that?
See, the Lucky Aiyedatiwa administration is not only a curse to Ondo State at this time, especially when we look at our trajectory. Ondo State having stood out as one of the foremost states in the southwest region of Nigeria. You would recall that towards the twilight of the year 2025, a Lucky Aiyedatiwa administration took what he called a supplementary budget to the House of Assembly. A supplementary budget that was more than the real budget. The entire budget for the year 2025 was lesser than the supplementary budget that Lucky Aiyedatiwa took to the House of Assembly for passage just 6 weeks to the end of that year. And when we call the attentions of Nigerians to it, the vuvuzelas that are like himself that he appointed into government, called myself, members of the Ondo Redemption Front and other society organizations in those states. They called us all kind of names. And we told them that time will tell. And then fast forward to the 2026 appropriation. What you see in 2026 appropriation is a reflection of who an Aiyedatiwa is. A governor who is about himself, his family, and his cronies alone. How do you explain that about 23 billion naira of the state resources was allocated to the purchase of vehicles for members of the Ondo State House of Assembly and other appointees of Ondo State government, at the expense of education, at the expense of infrastructure, at the expense of health? Look, let me remind you, just about 27 months ago, slightly above 2 years, before the death and the demise of the former governor of Ondo State, that is talking about late Rotimi Akeredolu, vehicles were procured for members of the Ondo State House of Assembly just 27 months ago. And don't forget that the lifespan of a member of the House of Assembly is 4 years. So how do you explain that a member of the House of Assembly in Ondo State is taking 2 vehicles, 2 most recent vehicles, just within 4 years administration or 4 years tenure as member of the House of Assembly? What happened to the one that they were given slightly over 2 years ago? Did it crash? Did it get lost? Was it withdrawn? That you are allocating humongous amounts of as much as 23 billion naira to the purchase of vehicles for members of the Ondo State House of Assembly and for other appointees of the Ondo State government in the same government where just about 600 million, less than $1 billion there, was allocated for procurement of drugs in state hospitals, where less than $1 billion naira was allocated for purchase of education materials in the same state. That tells you the priority of the Aiyedatiwa administration. Democracy is said to be the government of the people, for the people, and by the people. But in the case of the administration of Lucky Aiyedatiwa, what we are witnessing is the government of a few, by a few, and for a few.
Well, it looks like there are lots of bones to chew, and indeed, the state government has lots of responding and clarifications to do to resident and indigenous of Ondo State. There's more we need to talk about because we're looking generally at the state of things in the states right now. I'm very glad that you're speaking with me about this for the good of the state and development of the state. Let's talk about recent resignations within his cabinet. Is this tied in any way from your point of view to the governor's style of governance? How do you describe the internal cohesion of Governor Aiyedatiwa's administration, even though you don't work in the administration? Former appointees have publicly accused certain commissioners of sabotaging governor's projects to, from what you know, to what extent is this perceived internal crisis affecting service delivery in the state?
See, what you are witnessing, that is resignation rather, of some appointees of the Aiyedatiwa administration is just a reflection of the failure and internal wrangling within the entire administration of Lucky Aiyedatiwa. And when I speak to facts. When I speak to history. At the 58th celebration, Ondo 50 celebration, 2 members, 2 appointees of the state government beat themselves to stupor at the dinner and award ceremony celebrating Ondo State at 50. That is the special assistant to the governor on special duty and the special advisor to the governor on special duty. That's Gani Mohammed and the junior appointee. They beat themselves to stupor right at the venue of the 50 years anniversary of Ondo State, where the award ceremony and the dinner was holding. How much more do you describe an administration where 2 appointees can openly face themselves and accuse themselves of embezzlement and beat themselves to stupor to the administration of invitees from different parts of the world who came to that award ceremony? As if that was not enough. The same Gani Mohammed, if you go, these are something you can put on Google. A Google search will bring all of this to you as evidences. The same Gani Mohammed forcefully broke into a government office to take possession of one of the offices that was not allocated to him at the time of his appointment. As if that was not enough, let me remind you that towards the twilight of the year 2025, the governor of Ondo State, in a broadcast, in an open broadcast, promised the people of Ondo State, particularly the workers, the civil servants of Ondo State, he promised them what was called the 13th month salary. But up till now, this is the second month of the year 2026, such payment was not made to appointees, or the civil servants of Ondo State. You know why? Because the super governor, the governor that is more than the governor himself, that is the commissioner of finance, refused to make money available for the payment of the 13th month salary for for workers of Ondo State, which the governor himself promised. That tells you that the governor in himself is not in control. I will also remind you that one of the people that resigned recently, that is one of the media aides of the governor that resigned recently, Pastor Elisami or whatever his name is, if you go to Facebook or you go search it, a couple of months ago, openly did a video where he accused the commissioner of information in the state, the commissioner of finance, of maladministration, of deliberately not allowing appointees of Ondo State government to perform their duties because they are being they are being deliberately denied of funding. Just 3 months after, the man has resigned. The other guy, Abdul, resigned. He claimed he got unemployment with NDDC. That's the reason for his resignation and what have you. But these are examples of failure and misadministration within the government, within the team set up by the governor himself. And when you see a house leaking from the roof and the whole house is immersed in dirt and water, that tells you that the father of that house is incapable. So whatever you are witnessing within the team of Mr. Governor is a reflection of the incapacity of Mr. Governor himself and the failure of his administration.
Well, as mentioned, lots and lots to digest, lots of bones to chew regarding the state of affairs in Ondo State. There's a lot more that we'll touch, but as time will permit, we'll just very quickly talk about, how the good people Ondo State are faring, with this entire system. You have painted a picture of a governance style and an administration that you believe has not shown enough in terms of delivering the dividends of democracy to the people. How, from your assessment of dwellers, of residents, of indigenous, how are they faring with the state of things? Particularly with all that's happening, does it look like there is hope for the state? The state, we were just talking at the start of the conversation, marked its 50th anniversary. As a matter of fact, civil society groups like the one you run, have claimed that there are few lasting legacies to show. My question essentially is about the people. Before we wrap the conversation, let's talk about the people, how this governance style from your standpoint is affecting the people. Are the people, accepting this? Are they sitting back and just watching this happen? It looks like if they're not protesting, raising their voices against this system, it means that there's something that the state government is doing that is working for the people. Did you get my question? Deji, can you hear me, please?
Yes, I had some part of your question. I think the network is acting funny. Okay. I picked part of your question, and I think I can very well respond to it. Let me tell you, you can only tell the people of Ondo State and greet them for their endurance. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Okay, I can only greet the people of Ondo State and applaud them for their endurance because they possibly don't have a choice. Unfortunately, this maladministration and this unproductivity of the government of Lucky Aiyedatiwa is what we need to deal with for another 3 years. 3 things has happened in quick succession that has further proven the inefficiency, the incapacity, and the inability to deliver on the part of Lucky Aiyedatiwa. First, we had the Ondo State at 50. It is funny and it's demeaning. It's very embarrassing that for Ondo State, a sunshine state of pride, we celebrated 50 years of existence as a state, and not a single project was lined up for commissioning. Not a single one. Throughout the 1 week anniversary celebration, there was no single project put together, completed by Lucky Aiyedatiwa administration for commissioning. And as if that was not enough, his aides were quick to say, oh, calm down. It's 50 years anniversary. When he's celebrating his 1 year in office, there will be more to celebrate. As I'm speaking to you, today, tomorrow, and next tomorrow are 3 days activities lined up for purported 1 year anniversary of Lucky Aiyedatiwa in government, even though it's a lie, because Aiyedatiwa is actually 2 years in office. Do not forget that he spent practically the last 1 year of the administration of the 8 years, purported 8 years of the late Akeredolu was spent by Lucky Aiyedatiwa, both in the acting capacity and eventually was sworn in as substantive governor after the demise of the governor. So in real sense, Lucky Aiyedatiwa is 2 years in office, even though he's claiming he's celebrating 1 year in office of his being sworn in after his re-election. But the question would be, now we are here, 50 years anniversary, no project to commission, you say we should relax. I have seen the lineup of activities for the 1 year anniversary of Mr. Governor, and I can also tell you that there is nothing to celebrate. How do you explain that a governor that has spent 1 year in office could not even itemize one project for commissioning? He is laying claim to the refurbishment of internal road of an estate, what is called the Lagbaga estate. The refurbishing of that road is what Lucky is laying claim to as achievement in 1 year for a state that is raking in average of about 600 million, about 6 billion rather, every month. What do we have to show for it? Nothing. As if that was not enough. Today, as I speak to you, the Congress of the APC, that is the political party of Mr. Governor, is supposed to start their World Congress tomorrow. A stakeholders meeting was called earlier today, purportedly to resolve whatever internal wrangling they have within their party. The governor was said, allegedly, to have mobilized talks to the venue of the meeting to beat up the party chairman of his own political party. Who does that? A man who is not in control, a man who has lost grip, a man who does not enjoy the support of even his own party men and women, only does that. And that is what we are witnessing. That is what we are seeing from a Lucky Aiyedatiwa. And this tells you that the people of Ondo State are only enduring the mis and maladministration of Lucky Aiyedatiwa and praying to God that the years will run by and he can pack his load and go for a new breed of life in Ondo State.
We've got to go, but I'm just wondering, I recall we had a conversation at the time, there were reports that the late governor, the immediate past, that Rotimi Akeredolu, that he was, there were talks around him refusing to hand over to his then deputy, now Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa. There were talks around, Lucky, being, lots of talks about his name and the good fortunes that will come to the state. What do you think went wrong? It looks, as a deputy, as a fine gentleman who would bring the states so much fortune. What went wrong from your standpoint?
Well, let me remind you that myself as an individual and members of the Ondo Redemption Front were one of the lead liners on the support of ensuring that the Constitution is respected, the writing is done, and the then Deputy Governor, Lucky Aiyedatiwa, be brought into office as the substantive governor. Don't forget that we went as far as going to the court to obtain what is called the Order of Mandamus, which we called for the investigation of the state of health of the late Rotimi Akeredolu, which paved way for a Lucky Aiyedatiwa to have been governor. So I'm happy you asked what went wrong. There's nothing wrong in a name. Lucky is lucky, no doubt about that. He is one of the luckiest men on earth. Because if you look at his transition and his political journey, you will agree with me that he's actually lucky. But there is more to a name. Yorubas will say, Tama bi omo, ogudo tura ebi, which means when you are given birth to, you must rebirth yourself. So Lucky was lucky. Fate smiled on him to have made him governor. But it was obvious, or it has become obvious to all of us, that he's an unprepared vessel. So luck is not enough. Lucky has proven that he was unprepared for the office of the governor. Hence, the failure that has been recorded in about 2 years that he has been in the saddle. So for me, it's not about his name. I'm committed to the fact that he's lucky by his name. But luck is not equivalent to preparation. Lucky is not prepared for office. And lack of preparation is showing in his maladministration.
All right, been speaking with the chairman Ondo Redemption Front, Aiyedatiwa Ologun, who has shed light on the situation, the current state of affairs in Ondo State, where we took flight and set the spotlight on today on more politicals. Aiyedatiwa Ologun, many thanks for joining me. Truly appreciate your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, just the way we started, as I congratulated yourself as a true son of Ondo State, the Sunshine State, and other dwellers and residents there. I'd like to close by saying I wish you the very best with the situation that has been painted, the reports that we're getting to from your state. We wish yourself, your kinsmen, the states, both the residents, indigenes, those dwelling there, those who want to move there, wish you the very best with the situation.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate that. Well, that's Herbal Politicals. You know what to do. Stop by the comment section. Let's know what you think. Join the conversation, particularly if you're from that state, the Sunshine State. You know the song that says the sun's going to shine in everything you do. Or maybe, of course, they've got the right of reply. The administration can come on the program and talk and defend this, comments, this commentary as to what has now been tagged maladministration on those states. Is the sun truly shining on the things happening on the Sunshine State? Is the sun shining on Sunshine State? That's a big question. Doesn't look so. But hey, of course, the administration of Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa can come defend that. Until next time on Omo Politicals, we'll keep monitoring political development, not just in Ondo State, but across the country, and bring those your way and around the world as well. Kingsley Bass is my name, and I say may God continue to bless Ondo State and indeed the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Bye for now.